So just a forewarning, this is actually not my story, like I'm not the main character, but it's definitely worthy of being shared, and I relate to it in an interesting way, so wanted to share it all with you. So if you don't know me, my name is Jessie F, as Victoria said. My husband and I had the blessing of welcoming our first daughter in early March this year, and it was really cool, the timing of it all. When we found out that we were pregnant, his coworker had also just newly found out that she was pregnant, so we were about 2 months apart with our due dates, and we were getting really excited, sharing some of those pregnancy milestones together and everything, when they actually, unfortunately, received a very troubling diagnosis for their little guy. They found out about the 20-ish week mark that he actually had trisomy 18, which is a very, very fatal condition for newborn babies. It's a rare genetic thing that most of them, as in like greater than 90%, do not survive a live birth. And then if they do actually survive their birth, they do not typically make a year. It's considered a fatal disease. So that was obviously a very, very troubling thing to hear for their family. And, it's tough to hear that, but I have to say I was so encouraged by their response to that diagnosis, because they just started telling everyone that they knew, please, please pray for our baby boy. We know that God's at work in this. We're going to love him as long as we can. They chose not to terminate that pregnancy early, but just try to see it through for as long as possible. And it hit my heart in a different way, because that's something that my family had gone through in a very similar thing. I'm one of 6 children, and my parents got pregnant with their 4th child. I'm 3rd in the birth order, and they received not the same diagnosis, but it's a troubling type of thing where none of the levels were coming back normal for that pregnancy of my younger sister. And the doctors literally looked at my parents and said, you have 3 healthy babies at home. End this pregnancy before your wife goes through any more pain, and go home, hug your babies. If you want more children, try again. And my parents said they were shocked and horrified to hear that from a medical professional, that it literally wasn't worth their time to try to see this baby have any type of life at all. But they decided, we're going to trust in God's hands. God has worth for our child, and we're going to see how he's going to move in this situation. So my sister was born at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, operated on within 2 hours of her birth. They opened up her intestines, took everything out, cut out feet. I don't know if you guys are familiar with how long your intestines are, but they're quite substantial. They actually removed feet and tried to sew it back together and put it back in. My parents were told diagnosis like she will have spina bifida. She's not able to absorb nutrients like she needs. Her bones won't grow. She won't have a normal spine. And again, very, very, I can't imagine hearing just medical professionals that you're supposed to trust your child with tell that to you. And she came out with a beautiful spine, a beautiful skull. She survived that surgery. So she survived 4 more intensive surgeries by the time that she was 6. And she's now 22 years old today. She has no mobility problems. She runs half marathons for fun. I don't know what that's all about, but she's crazy in a good way, though. And she has been blessed to be able to run cross country throughout high school and college, and blessed with a body that works. And the doctors to this day have no words or diagnosis to describe why she's able to function, why she had bones that formed in the womb and then continued to grow outside the womb. They just say, we don't have words for this. And my parents continue to say, we have a word for that. That's a miracle. And that's God, working through our baby girl. And they actually were able to witness to a lot of the parents at CHOP and a lot of the doctors and nurses, and still to keep in touch with them to this day, honestly. Trauma bonding, I guess. But so if we jump back to current day, and my husband's coworker, they were able to actually have him at 35 weeks of your pregnancy is supposed to be 40 weeks. So he was 5 weeks early, and he weighed less than 5 pounds. And they were, prepped at Albany Med for his arrival, but they kept telling his parents, be prepared to not spend that much time with him on Earth. He's not going to make it. They continued to tell them this. And they continued to respond, we're going to spend as much time with him as we can. Everyone pray, pray, pray for our baby. I know you don't even believe in God, but nurses, please pray. This is how we want to approach it. And he was able to regulate his body temperature within a week of being born, which they were he's not going to be able to do this. He was able to eat outside of a feeding tube a month after he was born, and they again said he's never going to be able to do this. John Alexander is now 6 months old. The doctors started getting very, very suspicious about the 3-month mark. They were he's hitting milestones that babies with this diagnosis do not hit in their lifetime. Why is he still alive kind of a deal? They had a lot of questions. And they decided to retest him for that diagnosis that they originally labeled him with, trisomy 18. And might I caution you all, this is not something that they just say. They tested it 4 or 5 times before they announced to the parents that this is his diagnosis. And those tests came back about the 3-month mark that he actually has been cured. That 3rd chromosome on that pairing is not there anymore. So again, the doctors are we don't have an explanation. We didn't misdiagnose him the first time. We don't know what happened. And his parents looked at them and say, we do know what happened. God happened. That's a miracle. And, we just want to thank him and give praise to him for that. So it's not my story of hope, but a story of hope too, actually, to share with you all. And, I know that troubling times happen to all of us, whether it be regarding the birth of your child or other struggles that you come to know in your lifetime. And if I can just encourage you all to just pray and do not be ashamed to ask other people to pray for you in those times as well. And just know that God can use those to do great miracles and to impact the lives of other people too. My husband's coworker, she had a very interesting relationship with her mother-in-law prior to her pregnancy, and through just their reaction and their consistent response to these troubling news, her mother-in-law came to know Jesus, and as her personal Lord and Savior, they were able to share with their doctors as well, and God was at work in all of that. So thank you for your time.